Kevin Salinas with Dot Esports here, interviewing Daigo Umehara, and Ryan Harvey will be helping us with translations so we can understand what he has to say here in Japanese. Daigo, first of all, thank you very much for allowing us to get an interview with you.
時間をしてくれて本当にありがとうございます。
Okay, so first question is, it had been reported that you said you weren't ready for EVO. After CEO, how do you feel?
最近報告されてきたのは、
まだゲームが出て半年も経ってない段階なんで、自分のその格闘ゲームをやる時の練習方法とか取り組みだとちょっとまだ時間が足りないかなっていう感じがしますね。はい。
So Daigo feels that the game is so new at this point, right? At this point, it hasn't even been out for half a year, and the way that Daigo likes to practice games, he feels like it's not enough time to be at the level that he wants to be at yet.
How do you feel about your former teammate Tokido and his performance?
ずっとTokido対インフィルっていう決勝戦がTokido対インフィルっていうのがずっと続いてて、ずっとインフィルが勝ってたのが今回初めてTokidoが勝つっていうので、すごいいい大会っていうか、感動したっていう。これからこれをきっかけにどんどん今まで毎回ね勝つのが決まってた方が今度負け始めたりとか、そういうののなんかきっかけになるかもしれないなって思うような大会でしたね。うん。はい。
So of course, Infill and Tokido have been playing like over and over, right? And this is the first time that Tokido has actually won and succeeded over Infill. So he, thinks that it may be the turning point of now Tokido having the momentum and being the person to beat rather than Infill.
Okay, well that's them. Let's talk about Daigo, of course. How did you feel about your own performance?
今までの試合、今まで出た大会の中では一番自分としては良かったなと思いましたね。結果は5位で、なんだろう、スウェーデンのプレミアと同じ順位なのかな。だけど、人数も多いし、あと当たった相手がすごい強い人とか多かったんで、同じ5位でも今回の5位の方が嬉しいですね。ちょっとずつ大会の結果というか内容も良くなってってるんで、まだ多分自分は優勝とかに絡めない実力だと思うんですけど、自分としては満足ですね。はい。
So he's actually very satisfied with his performance this time at CEO. He feels like it's the best that he's played up to this point so far. And in fact, so he actually got 5th place at the DreamHack Sweden tournament as well. So although he produced the same result, he felt as if the meaning was higher here because there were more entries. The level of competition was a bit higher here overall. So he feels that his 5th place really means something, and he's glad that he's getting stronger little by little each tournament. And while it's not enough to get 1st place, he's glad that he's improving at the rate he wants to improve.
CEO is his first American appearance on the Capcom Pro Tour. Why did he choose this tournament to make his first appearance?
序盤のプレミア2つの頃はまだ全然大会に出るような自信がなかったんで出なかったんですけど、それ以降だと初のプレミアが CEO だと思うんですよね。だからそろそろ出たいなと思って出ました。はい。
So the very first 2 premier events in the US were right after the game came out, which at that point he had no confidence to where he could produce any kind of good results. But CEO was kind of the next premier event in the United States after that, and it was also kind of the time limit. Like he kind of had to start entering at this point, right? So yeah, that's why he chose it.
You mentioned that he didn't have confidence in those first 2 events. How do you think he would do in the runback with Lupe Fiasco?
なんかやはり自信が変わったりしますでしょうか。
それはなんかあんまり関係ないと思いますけどね。はい。でもルーペのイベントはすごい楽しくできましたね。うん。
He said he would body him, right?
He said that the whole situation with the first 2 events doesn't really relate too much, but he thinks that the Lupe event was extremely fun.
Okay. Let's talk a little about some of the news that has surrounded Daigo recently. He was picked up by Red Bull after leaving Mad Cats. And, we don't have to go into Mad Cats, but Red Bull and then more recently Twitch. How has his life changed since those two sponsorships or signings or, the being part of those teams?
まあゲームの練習するっていうところはあんまり変わってないんですけど、まあ今までよりもよりコミュニティの活性化というか、新規を増やしたりとか、なんかそういう人材、若い人とかを発掘したりっていうことが、増えていくんだろうなと思ってますね。だプレイヤーとしてマットキャッツ時代はずっとプレイヤーとしてのみ活動してましたけど、今は配信とかもやって、情報を広めるようなことをもしていくんだろうなというふうに思ってますね。はい。
So, as far as his actual practice, that hasn't changed much, but he feels, with this, there's a little bit more of he has a little bit more of a responsibility to the community now. And that's why he's putting in so much more work to be able to actually spread information. And he's been doing that, of course, via his stream, Beast TV. And he also hopes to be able to open the game up to more, not just new players, but to more younger players as well.
Daigo, you have a lot of fans. A lot of people look up to you. Do you feel pressure to perform when you're out on the stage?
こっち来てすごい写真撮ってとかサインしてくれっていうことがすごい多くて、でその分、期待されてるんだろうなと思うんですけど、それはプレッシャーにはならなくて、むしろ嬉しい、ありがたいなって、頑張ろうっていう気にさせてくれることで、自分はもともとあんまり新しいゲームが上手くなるの早くないんですよ。マーブル VS とかやってもなかなか上手くならなかったし、どのゲームやってもあんまりスタートは遅いんですね。だから時間かかるから、もともとこういう上達の仕方、成長の仕方なんだけど、やっぱり自分はもう長いこと格闘ゲーム業界にいて、年齢も上の方だから、年のせいで上手くなるのが遅くなったりしてるんじゃないかと思われると、なんていうのかな、だから責任を感じますね。格闘ゲームは多分年取っても結構やれるゲームだと思うんですけど、自分は年がかなり上の方だからちゃんと頑張って別に年齢のせいじゃないんだぞっていうことを早く証明したいなといますね。でもファンの人たちがいることはもう自分にとってはマイナスなことは何もなくて、むしろやる気が、試合前はやる気が出ますね。はい。
Okay, so first of all, as far as when he goes to events and things like that, obviously he gets asked a lot for signatures, pictures. He loves all that. He really appreciates that his fans care that much, and he loves interacting with them. Now, of course, in the game, the reason he doesn't really feel that much pressure or expectation now is because he knows, and he's been playing games for quite a long time, he considers himself to be a slow learner of fighting games. Someone who doesn't learn a new fighting game extremely fast. To give an example, he mentioned Marvel vs. Capcom 3, which he tried to play when it came out and didn't really get good at the game. And whatever game it is that he's played, it's taken him a while to get to, the level that people consider Daigo. So he's not too concerned about that as far as expectations and things like that. And there's really, no bad thing or no wrong thing about it whatsoever. And then the last thing was his age. Of course, he is a little bit of an older player. And so, on the one hand, he tells himself that, maybe because he's a little bit older, it's a little bit more difficult to perform well in games. But at the same time, he knows he shouldn't think that. So he, kind of wants to quickly or as soon as possible win again so that he can prove that the age is not a big deal and that he can still do it.
Evo?
もしくはその機会はエボだと。
そうなるように頑張ります今から。
He will try very hard to realize that possibility.
There used to be the perception, and I think it was even maybe not common knowledge that Daigo did not like his matches being filmed, and he was maybe a little bit more secretive. Now it seems like it's the complete opposite, and certainly Beast TV is an example of that.
Right.
What changed?
もともとそのプレイゲームセンターとかでプレイしていてずっとプレイしてたから毎日のようにその情報を隠すっていうことはした覚えがないですね。ずっとそのゲームセンターでプレイしてるんで隠しようがないんですよね。でずっとそういう時代で生きてきてるんでそれは誤解なんですけどなんだろうな、ただそのわざわざ自分からこう言葉にして公開するっていうことはなかったんですけど、やっぱりそのレッドブルとかその Twitch とかと一緒にやることで、その自分だけが得するのじゃまずいなと思って、やっぱりそのプレイヤーいろんなプレイヤーとかコミュニティが情報を得れたりとか楽しめるっていうことにやっぱりこう協力していかなきゃいけないなと思ってるんで、隠すことは今までなかったけどわざわざ自分から教えるっていうことは初めてですね。
So the belief that Daigo did not share information in the past is actually a little bit of a misunderstanding.
Okay.
As far as, of course, prior to the situation now, he would play in arcades every day, and he never hid information. There were times when he may not have given explicit permission to make things public.
Okay.
But he also he never went out of his way to hide any kind of information. So that was a bit of a misunderstanding. But, he feels now, more so than ever, that it's really important to be able to share all that information, again, just in the interest of the situation now with sponsors and being able to have the game more accessible to more players.
Okay. 2 more questions. One is, what does a Twitch global ambassador do?
具体的に Twitch のグローバルアンバサダーってどういう仕事になりますでしょうか？
簡単に言うとその Twitch の良さみたいなのを広めていくっていうことになると思うんですけど、Twitch のイベントとかに出るのは当然としてすでにかなり広まってはいると思うんですけど、自分もそのいろんな人がその Twitch で配信したりすることをちょっとこうなんていうのかな、面白いんだよって配信面白いんだよっていうことを多分伝える仕事なのかなっていう気がしますね。はい。
So, yeah, he thinks the main definition or the main goal of the job is to spread how great Twitch is throughout Japan and throughout the world. And he thinks he's already done that to an extent. However, he feels that another part of it will be also, demonstrating to other Japanese players and other players how cool it is to stream on Twitch and, to really show them that, hey, like streaming is pretty interesting. Maybe you should try it.
Okay.
So he thinks that'll come into it as well.
There was a bit of a controversy earlier in the week or a couple of weeks ago that when Giuna, according to Giuna on Beast TV and one of his streams, Daigo said that he was not sure if he'd be playing Street Fighter V next year. Can he clarify what he meant by that?
にしていただけますでしょうか？
やりたいんですけどね、スト5好きなんですごい気に入ってるんでやりたいと思ってます。でただそのカプコンカップが終わった後にそのアメリカもそうだし日本もそのずっと盛り上がっていくのかどうかが分からなかったんで、その例えばスト4っていうゲームの人気があったからカプコンカップとか後から来たじゃないですか。だけどスト5っていうのはもう初めからカプコンカップがあることが分かってるゲームだから、もしかするとそれでやってる人たちもいるのかなっていう気がしちゃってて、でもしカプコンカップが終わった時に人が減っちゃうと嫌だなと思ってますけど、自分はやりたいです。やりたいと思ってます。はい。
So first of all, Daigo personally really loves and enjoys Street Fighter V. He likes the game a lot, and he definitely wants to continue playing the game next year, no matter what. However, sort of the situation, right, is he feels so Street Fighter 4 was this game that because it became popular, a Capcom Cup came to fruition, right? It wasn't the other way around. So this time around, Capcom Cup was introduced for Street Fighter V before the game even released. So he feels that there may be perhaps some players that are playing solely for the purpose of the Capcom Cup. And so, next year he feels that not just in Japan but in the US, if there is no Capcom Cup, potentially, those players who only played for the purpose of a Capcom Cup, may drop and the player number may fall a little bit. So he personally does not want to see that happen, but he simply considered it as a possibility with the contrast to how SF4 came to fruition.
Bonus question, what did he think of the trailer?
ボーナスの質問っていうことで、今先にご意見とかはございます？
ちょっとユリアンが気になりますね。やっぱりスト3以降あんまりジャムぐらいしかなかったんでキャラクターとしては結構面白いキャラクターだなと思ってるから、スト5でどういうキャラクターになってるのかは結構興味がありますね。ジュリーとかはどうなんですかね。スト4で初めて出てきたキャラクターだから、スト5でどれぐらい変わるのかなっていうのはちょっと想像つかないですね。バイソンというかこっちだとボクサーは多分今までとそんなに変わらないんじゃないの見た感じと思ったから、どっちかというとそのジュリーと、ユリアンですかね。特にユリアンに興味がありますよね。
So from the start, first, the character that really seemed the most interesting was Urian. He likes how Urian looks, and he's the character that he personally has the most interest in. Partially, even we chatted because he played Urian in Capcom Fighting Jam, which is a quite old game now. But I remember him in SBO finals playing with Urian. So, at any rate, he definitely has an interest in Urian. He saw Jury and he thought to himself, like, this character's first debut was in Street Fighter 4, and so he can't really imagine how the character would change to become Street Fighter 5e, I guess. So he's not really sure what to think about Jury. And then finally, Boxer, he thought that he actually looked pretty similar to how he was in Street Fighter 4. So, yeah, he thinks that Street Fighter 4 fans will enjoy Street Fighter 5 Boxer.
Is there anything else that Daigo Umehara, the Twitch ambassador, would like to say?
何か他に梅原さん一言でも。
そうですね。同じキャラ使ってる時々がついに優勝してすごい刺激というかをもらって日本に帰ったらまた一生懸命練習したいなと思いましたね。はい。早くっていうかもっと上手くなりたいなと思いました。はい。
So he saw his friends Tokido win CEO with his character, which was kind of a wake-up call for him. And he feels that even more so, he's now more motivated and more inspired to go back to Japan and try to practice or to get better faster. And yeah, it's a great motivation.